Hello, my name is Peace Osigwe, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about my reflection on Module 5 in the Teaching Now program. During the activities in this module, I've been able to gain a lot, and I see this as a very good way, very good start for me as a teacher to be prepared for my lessons in the class. I've learned so many things from this module, from unpacking a standard to backward design to lesson plan and also to teaching a lesson. Doing the activity for unpacking a standard, I gain insight on the content, process, and the product. And unpacking a standard with the student helps to develop transparent learning curriculum where students will be able to gain deeper understanding of what they are learning. And this helps me as a teacher to categorize the big ideas and the lesson and be able to structure out the skills that students will learn from this lesson, and then getting an insight in the big idea of the lesson. I'll be able to think about activities that will help students to be able to achieve the objective of the lesson. So for unpacking a standard as a teacher, I'll be able to identify specific learning targets and also be able to write a summative assessment around the target. So it helps me as a teacher to structure out the big ideas in the lesson and the skills students are supposed to learn from the lesson and the activities that will help students to achieve the objective of the lesson. For backward design as a teacher, it helps me to think about the objective of the unit and the lesson, and from there I'll begin to think about lessons that I could create around the objective so that students will be able to meet up with the objective. I appreciate the concept of backward design because it actually helps me to focus on the lessons process rather than the teaching process. And as a teacher, using the backward design, one important thing I got from this is that it will help me to create lessons based on the learning goal rather than the teaching process, and this will help students to achieve the purpose of the lesson and the objective of the lesson, and it will help to engage students in activities that will help to boost their learning outcomes. And I appreciate the backward design, and because it helps you to prepare for lessons that will help students to gain the objective of a unit or a lesson plan. And though as a teaching assistant before now, I'm not directly involved in the lesson plan in the school, but I have an insight of the content of the lesson plan and what my classroom teacher expects from students. But however, using the Teach Now template lesson plan to plan my lesson, I appreciate the incorporation of differentiation of instruction because it helps me as a teacher to be able to focus on teaching strategies on how I could be able to meet with the learning needs of every child, because it is important that no child is left behind. I appreciate the concept of the Teach Now unit plan, where as a teacher I have to think about differentiated instruction that I could use to get or capture the learning needs of every of my students. And I also like the fact that students will be able to gain some 21st century skills. They will be able to collaborate, think critically, communicate with each other, be able to solve problems. I appreciate the incorporation of materials and resources because as a teacher, when you have your materials and resources, it helps you to be able to know what materials you can back up on for instruction to the students. And I really appreciate the incorporation of multicultural concepts where students from different, in international schools we have students from diverse cultures, and as a teacher in teaching a lesson that incorporates cultural concepts will be able to make students to have self-image and self-voice. I appreciate the incorporation of multicultural concept in the lesson plan of the Teach Now, in the Teach Now platform. And for me to know that my students are meeting with the objectives of my lesson as I teach, I would use quick quiz to ask questions to students, and in the process of my formative assessment and working around to check for students understanding, I could ask questions to students, and depending on their response I'll be able to know where students is whether if students is getting the objective of the lesson. And also some questions that students will ask will help me to know the level of their understanding of the lesson, and this will actually help me to know if I have to reteach the lesson or to continue to another unit. And I cannot really wait to use this unit planning platform of Teach Now in my own lesson when I begin to teach as a teacher. And I would also like to share this concept with my colleague because I actually appreciate the concept, and it helps me as a teacher to be prepared and have all the required things that I need put in place so that the lesson will go in an organized way. I appreciate the platform, and I would really like to. I look forward to using it in my lessons as I become a teacher, and I'll also want to share with my colleagues at work. This is a little bit of what I think about this module, and I know that when I begin to use it, I will appreciate it more, and I see it as a platform for me as a new teacher to be able to keep me on track and organized. Thank you.